YouTube, it's Deb Truth. It's Monday, December 14th. I'm going to talk to you guys today about Goldman Sachs and their involvement in Copenhagen and why it's so important for them that cap and trade legislation passes. There was an article in the Copenhagen Climate Council website the other day, on Saturday, and the title is "Business Leaders Are Key to Solving the Climate Crisis," says Bill Clinton. It says Tracy R. Wollstonecroft, the managing director and global head of environmental markets at Goldman Sachs, as well as Copenhagen climate counselor, he said the path to a solution and the way to achieve such confidence and stability within business is through government incentives, including a price on carbon. Goldman Sachs is very interested in carbon trading. When they talk about the price of carbon, it directly affects them. In September of 2006, Goldman Sachs purchased 10% share in CCX, which is the Chicago Climate Exchange. For $23 million, they purchased a 10% share in this company. Now, the Chicago Climate Exchange is the only U.S. carbon trading exchange right now. It's run by a guy named Richard Sandor, and it is a voluntary trading organization. There's about 80 corporate members right now that participate in this voluntary trading on this exchange. If cap and trade legislation passes, it will no longer be voluntary. It will be mandatory for companies to participate in the buying and selling and trading of these carbon offsets. So Goldman Sachs has real vested interests in seeing cap and trade pass. They're currently over in Copenhagen. They have been listed as a participant and a speaker for the Copenhagen conference. In light of all of that, I was looking on the internet and I found an article that was put out by the Capital Research Center. It came out in October of 2008, and it's titled, "In Goldman Sachs We Trust." There on page 6 is a section called "Cashing in on Green." In search of money-making ventures, former Goldman Sachs executives recently joined Generation Investment Management, GIM, a London-based green investment company founded by former Goldman Sachs executive David Blood and green guru Al Gore. So Al Gore and these former Goldman Sachs, there's a few of them that have started this GIM, and they stand to make quite a lot of money from, green initiatives, startup companies, and so forth. It says this year GIM formed a partnership with Kleiner, Perkins, Caulfield & Byers, the highly successful California venture capitalist firm that invests seed money into green technology startup companies. So Al Gore's going to make money. So are the ex-execs from Goldman Sachs. But if cap and trade passes, of course, Goldman Sachs will also make a lot of money since they own 10% of that startup, that trading platform startup, Chicago Climate Exchange. So they're very, very enthused about cap and trade passing, and they're over in Copenhagen discussing, the way that the finances will work with this. Now, in November 30th, 2009, the Global Markets Institute, which is a Goldman Sachs organization, put out a document called Next Stop Copenhagen. And on page 4 of this document, it says some countries viewed as critical to a successful global agreement will be unable to agree to binding emissions quotas in Copenhagen because enabling domestic legislation has not been enacted. It goes on to list a host of reasons, economic stimulus, healthcare reform, and those types of things that our congressional people are working on so diligently that's kind of getting in the way of getting this passed. I I can't comment any further on that because I'd just be speculating, but I don't believe it. We know it says discussions in November between President Obama and President Hu Jintao in Beijing, and between Obama and India's Prime Minister Singh, may have smoothed the way for more progress in Copenhagen. So they've all gotten together and met, even though that this legislation, our cap and trade legislations, have been tabled until the spring. But they're kind of paving the way. A lot of things have come up that, they're not going to fully agree on all the emissions in Copenhagen, which is what they were really pushing for, and which is why I believe that they were really meeting over there. But Goldman Sachs says, what is likely to happen in Copenhagen? Although an international binding climate change treaty is no longer the main objective of the conference, other specific climate change issues will be discussed. So that's, a binding climate change treaty is no longer the real main objective. Well, what is? It says delegates will actively discuss the level of international funding that developed countries should contribute to finance domestic climate change programs in the developing world. So it really is boiling down to now they're in financial discussions. Goldman Sachs, of course, fully participating in Copenhagen and speaking. And you'll have to check out this document. I'll post it out there so you can see it. They put a lot of fancy graphs and charts and stuff in there. But, they're fully on board. They're in the know. They know what's going on. And they want to see this all go through because that's the next bubble. Everything else in the past has failed. It's blown up. And commercial real estate is slowly deflating right now. We'll see what happens with that. But they really need to have this, some big agreements come to a point over there in Copenhagen. And then this spring, cap and trade will pass. It will pass. Goldman Sachs has so much sway with Congress and the administration. They have thus far. And so we're going to see something happen because this is going to be the next bubble to get blown up, really. Goldman Sachs has a lot to lose if this doesn't pass. So that's really where they're at. Goldman Sachs, Gore, Copenhagen, cap and trade. It's just all about finances. And the real issue, the real serious issues of environmental safety and protection, clean water and air, those types of things are really going to take a back seat, and unfortunately that cause is being tarnished by what the real initiatives are of all these cronies and banksters out there that are in collusion. Anyway, leave me any comments or give me any, if I've erred on anything, just let me know. Anyway, I probably won't be out here for a little bit. We're going to be heading to Illinois to spend some time with family for the holidays. So I will talk to you guys soon, and thanks for watching, you guys. Bye.